As they say in the world of professional wrestling, there is never a dull moment. And this past Friday, TNA Resolution 2024 lived up to that statement. Let's dive right into it. All in all, there were 10 matches on the entire card, 2 on the pre-show and 8 on the main card. And starting things off on the pre-show, we had Leon Slater taking on JDC. Now, Leon Slater, I think, is one of those talents that TNA really needs to start investing in booking-wise a lot more. I'm happy to see that he's being used more frequently, but I think they really need to build up his momentum and make him feel like a star and feel like one of the main players on their roster because he has so much untapped potential, especially at such a young age. I really feel like if they invested in him booking-wise, it would pay dividends for them in the long run, especially in the X Division, which we'll get into obviously later with the X Division Championship match review. I was a little bit confused, though, why Leon Slater was wrestling JDC. Definitely would not have been my first pick, or maybe even a pick that I would have came up with to put him on the card up against. However, I think it's even more disappointing that JDC did end up winning this match. It approximately ran for about 6 to 7 minutes, and he ended up winning via roll-up with his feet on the rope. So at least he cheated to defeat Leon. So I feel like Leon's protected there in that sense, but I just think overall, what does JDC really need a win for in the current booking climate, in current TNA? No idea. Where Leon Slater, again, untapped potential, young talent, so much potential and so many different opportunities and avenues you can go down with him, and to have him losing in a pre-show match to JDC at the end of 2024, almost beginning of 2025, a little wild, a little questionable, but it was a solid match. I will give them that. It was a solid match. It was good for a pre-show match, but again, booking-wise, it's kind of like, why are we doing this? After the first pre-show match, we did get a backstage segment between Jake Something and Gia Miller, where Jake Something reveals that Hammerstone has been injured. Thankfully, on Twitter, Hammerstone did announce that he should not be out of action for long. I don't believe he requires surgery. So definitely wishing Hammerstone the best, and hopefully he has a speedy and very healthy recovery. But he did announce that he still planned on competing in the match that night, not Hammerstone, but Jake Something, in the 3-way tag match, competing solo, not finding another partner, but still choosing to compete. For our final pre-show match, we had Jonathan Gresham taking on Kazarian. Now, I feel for Jonathan Gresham because I feel like since he's come into TNA, there's been moments where it's like, ooh, yay, maybe they are going to do something with Jonathan Gresham. And then crickets. I feel like they really have not done him justice. He's very talented in the ring. I feel like Jonathan Gresham is one of those guys that would really benefit from like running a stable. And while I was originally thinking that while watching Final Resolution, I was like, the system's kind of gone stale on me, to be honest, as a faction. So part of me was like, I wonder if like Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards being led by Jonathan Gresham would be something fun and fresh. But then I was kind of like, why would they come together? I don't know if there's as many options there. But then in thinking about it deeper, Josh Alexander is leaving TNA. So I wonder if Jonathan Gresham starting a stable with like the Northern Armory and like maybe having somebody like, maybe not Leon Slater, but somebody similar to him, I can't think off the top of my head right now, forming a stable would be really interesting. Because the Northern Armory, I'm kind of nervous that when Josh Alexander leaves, they're going to kind of be lost in the shuffle. But anyway, I think Jonathan Gresham would really benefit from running a small stable. I do feel bad that he's constantly on the pre-show, and anytime they build a little bit of momentum up with him, I feel like the emergency break is hit soon after. Kazarian did win this match with a thumb to the eye and then leading it into a submission. So again, I feel like just like the first pre-show match on this card, Jonathan Gresham was protected in a sense because Kazarian did win in a dirty way. However, I just don't feel like they're going to be investing in him booking-wise anytime soon, and that depresses me. No notes. That's it. That's all I got. Moving on over to the main card, our opening match was the X Division Championship match where champion Moose defended against Kushida. The match went on for approximately 10 minutes. It went over 10 minutes, so they got a good amount of time on the card, which is great. Moose looked really good in the match. He looked really strong. However, Moose as X Division champion, I have to be honest, is not hitting for me. And I think it's not hitting for me because I don't feel like Moose has any reliable challengers based on how they've treated the X Division. Losing Mike Bailey, obviously a huge hit. Mustafa Ali hopefully is coming back, but losing him for a portion of time definitely has taken a hit. There's just nobody actively in the X Division currently that just feels like a believable challenger. They could easily insert somebody like Ace Austin into the picture. But right now, it just feels like Moose doesn't really have any real competition. Kushida's an amazing talent. I love Kushida. I think he's a very reliable wrestler. This was a good match overall. I just feel like, I don't know. I just feel like Moose is not in the world title picture right now, and he doesn't need to be, and he doesn't need to be champion right now. So it's almost like giving, hey, let's give him the X Division title. And I just feel like the X Division gets treated right, gets mistreated, gets treated right, gets mistreated. And people like to bring up all the time, like, oh, well, Joe was a big guy, and he was in the X Division. He was a phenomenal X Division wrestler and champion and everything like that. And Moose, while agile and quick, I still think can probably run some good X Division matches by letting, some higher flying guys like Leon Slater, hopefully in the future, do a bunch of like crazy, fast, agile, acrobatic moves on him and make it seem like a big impact. I hate that I used the word impact. Anyway, but it just feels like fluff. I don't know if that even makes sense. Maybe that's a Brettism. I don't know, but it just feels like very fluff and no real substance. And that makes me sad because the X Division is like a huge part of what has made TNA different throughout its entire history, especially in the beginning. And I just feel like they need to get back to that. They need to stop making it more complicated than it is. I feel like it's quite simple and they just choose to make it a chore. But again, it was a solid match. I did say it was a good match earlier. I don't think I'd call it a good match. I'd call it a solid match. Yeah. Following up with that, we had an interview from AJ Francis backstage. He states that nobody believes in AJ Francis. Him and Casey Navarro were talking about how they're all about money, and so they'll be all about gold. So hyping up their main event match later in the evening. AJ Francis, I'm not a fan of AJ Francis, respectfully. But I will get into more of that when we hit the main event. For match 2, we had the Rascalz versus PCO and Sami Callihan versus Jake Something. I really enjoyed this match. It was approximately just over 10 minutes as well. The first thing that stuck out to me about this match is I was surprised, actually, at how well PCO and Sami Callihan work for me. I kind of like them as a tag team. I think it's a good fit. However, my only gripe with them being a tag team is I really just want PCO to drop the DM title. I think there are a lot of people on the roster that would really benefit that maybe aren't ready for a world title run, or maybe just haven't had the reliable booking from TNA to be in the world title picture just yet. And they could also, get a taste test of having a championship and having a title run and see how they do and really establishing the mid-card scene. Jake Something honestly comes to mind. I know he's in this match, but Jake Something I feel like would really benefit from having a digital media title run right now. But yeah, other than that, PCO and Sami Callihan work really well for me. I have no idea how PCO even moves, let alone wrestles, which is crazy to me because of some of the stuff he does. His dive to the outside was a really fun spot in this match. He takes a lot of just hits that I'm like, how does it, I don't even know how he moves. He is like a scientific anomaly, and I just appreciate how ballsy he is, especially at his age. And I don't know. Yeah, no more notes on that. But the Rascalz in general, they are so fluid. They're so quick and agile with their movements, but they make everything just look so aggressive, I guess is the right word, in a really good way. They're really fun as a tag team. I've always really enjoyed the Rascalz. They looked phenomenal in this match. They are easily a next challenger for the Hardys, and I hope that they have a whole program and feud with them. I'd really enjoy that. and having them be hopefully the next TNA tag team champions makes sense in my brain. But yeah, they were really good. The Rascalz did end up winning this match. They pinned Jake something. I think this was smart. PCO and Callihan being a relatively new alliance. I hope that they kind of just stay in the tag scene for now. But Jake something did have that strike against him not having a tag team partner. So I feel like he was okay taking the pin here in this scenario due to the circumstances. Otherwise, I would have been like, oh, why are we having Jake something take a pin? But it was a really good match. I enjoyed it. At the end of the match, the 23 video that keeps playing on the Tron, hyping up somebody coming into TNA. I think it's going to be Baron Corbin. I think he's probably going to debut at the live Impact that's going to be in San Antonio on January 23rd. So we'll see. But yeah, the video played. If you guys have any guesses or anybody that you think it is, let me know in the comments. After match 2 on the main card, we did have EY and Maclin in a backstage segment. EY was just letting Maclin know that, I got your back. If the Northern Armory shows up in your match, I will take care of them. And was really just hyping him up and being a good friend. And then EY ended up being on commentary for that match. We will get more into that as we get to that match. For match 3, we had Ace Austin versus Trent Seven. Now, going into this, I was like, why is this on the main card? It felt a little random. Very happy that Ace Austin was booked in a match and on the main card. I have no problems with that. I do think that they did a solid job, referencing something that happened 3 weeks prior between Trent Seven and Ace Austin, where I believe Trent Seven got the pin on Ace Austin. So they did a good job referencing that and showing a video from it during this match segment. Ace Austin's one of those guys, just like Jake something and Leon Slater, that I think they just really need to build around and cement as a pillar. Ace Austin's one of those guys you can literally put in any division, whether it be, in the tag scene with Chris Bay when he's healthy. I feel like he could be a digital media champion. He can be an X Division champion, and in the future, becoming a world champion. I see that happening. I would also love to know what his workout routine is, because his quads have their own individual zip code. But Ace Austin's one of those guys that's very, very reliable, very fun to watch, has many years ahead of him, and can really go into so many different directions at any given moment. TNA needs to invest in him and keep building him up. Trent Seven did really well in this match. I think Trent Seven's a really good wrestler. Really good in the ring. He hits hard and he plays the D-bag role so well. As I mentioned earlier, them referencing the, match that they had 3 weeks prior that they were both involved in was a nice touch to kind of amp up, I guess, the match's placement on the card. However, Trent Seven taking the Chris Bay shirt that Ace Austin had and ripping it at one point, rubbing it on his crotch at another point, taking shots at Chris Bay, it just made more emotion circulate the match, I feel like, and made me more invested as a viewer, to where I was like, Ace Austin, you need to beat his ass. Kick his fucking ass, after he did that. So I feel like that added so much emotion to it, and that's a testament to Trent Seven playing a character really well. Ace Austin did end up winning this match with 1-2 sweet. It was a good match. I actually really enjoyed it. Went into it again being like, why is this here? To then leaving being like, I enjoyed that. That was a good match. So they both did an amazing job. After match 3, we did have a segment with Kazarian in the back, kind of gloating about how he wants to end the year as world champion, and it was a very short segment. I'm glad Kazarian's on the roster. I think he's one of those reliable veterans that they can consistently turn to. Interested to see if he does end up getting a world title run. Match 4, the first knockouts match on the card, Rosemary versus Jordynne Grace. This match, in terms of match time, was approximately 10 minutes. Jordynne Grace is a beast. She's had a phenomenal year, but she's just a phenomenal wrestler. I'm using phenomenal. It's because AJ Styles was in the back. This is all planned, obviously. It's not just my vocabulary relying on one word, I promise. But Jordynne Grace, seriously, she's one of my favorite women's wrestlers that are active currently. She's just such a joy to watch. I feel like you could put her up against anybody and she will turn out an entertaining match. I will definitely miss her when she leaves TNA. I'm super bummed that she's leaving TNA for selfish reasons. But I'm so excited to see what she does in WWE. Going into this match, I was super happy with how they have given Rosemary some more love in terms of booking and put a refocus on her. It's something I feel like I have wanted for a really long time, but I also feel like the TNA fans collectively have wanted this for a long time for Rosemary. I did like, her placement in Decay because I think they needed knockouts tag teams at one point, but I feel like it hit a point where she was kind of like locked in knockout tag team hell and maybe never getting out of it. And to see her escape, get some love, get the opportunities with NXT, and then have this match on the card, I was so excited. Went into it wanting to see Jordynne Grace put Rosemary over, give Rosemary that rub before Jordynne Grace leaves, because Jordynne has so much momentum and so much talk around her that I was like, this is the perfect person to give Rosemary a win. Really build up Rosemary back as one of the main figures, especially, again, with Jordynne leaving. It just makes so much sense to me. I did love Rosemary's mask, the Jason Voorhees mask that she used in her entrance. However, I feel like Rosemary was swallowed by Jordynne's momentum and just intensity throughout this whole match. I don't really remember Rosemary like hitting anything that has stuck with me post viewing, and I did watch Final Resolution twice. Nothing really stuck with me as like, oh, that was a great moment in terms of like actual in-ring action. And that's not a shot at Rosemary. I love Rosemary. I just feel like Jordynne got a lot of offense in. Rosemary unfortunately did very little in this match compared to what I was hoping for. Then again, Tessa arrives. Tessa Blanchard returns to TNA. She arrives at the 10-minute mark. She's in a ski mask. She lays out Jordynne Grace, hits her finisher, and then unmasks herself. Right after the match, there is a backstage segment too with Tessa Blanchard and Gia Miller. Tessa states that TNA's name was built on her, or TNA was built on her name, and then like shoves Gia Miller into the backstage area. Now, I do want to comment on the entire Tessa Blanchard situation, but this is a Final Resolution review, and I don't want it to become a Tessa Blanchard review. However, I do want to comment on my opinion about bringing her back into TNA. Tessa Blanchard is one of those talents that absolutely breaks my heart when I think about her, because she has all the talent in the world, ignoring all of the issues that she's had just for this moment. She's a phenomenal professional wrestler. She's phenomenal in the ring. She's just like one of the best women's wrestlers in ring. She has that aura to her that when she walks out and does her entrance and does her thing, and the little movements and gestures and shit talking that she does in matches, she's a star and she feels like a star. But going into everything, she does have allegations against her around racism. I know specifically to fellow professional wrestler La Rosa Negra. She did apologize and they did patch things up. However, as viewers and as fans, when you hear somebody, having instances of racism and saying racist things to people, the comments said, whether we know them or not, affect different communities disproportionately. And people are allowed to not like Tessa in general. But then especially after hearing that, people are absolutely allowed to not like Tessa. And I think that's important. If that doesn't bother you as an individual, that's one thing, but to go tell other people, oh, it happened forever ago. The comments and, the things done, again, affect different communities disproportionately. So I think that's important to keep in mind. Also, beyond the racism allegations, a bunch of women have come out over time stating how they have been mistreated, bullied, spat on. It's not just one woman. I mean, we've had Chelsea Green, we've had Allison Kay. I forget who else. There's been multiple people, though, that have come out against her. And it just makes me incredibly nervous because I know we're losing Jordynne Grace. And I guess my only hope is that I obviously have no control over TNA signing or using Tessa Blanchard. But what I will say is that I can only hope that she's patched things up over the years, or if she hasn't, she does, with those women and any women she's affected. And I hope that she can treat the women on the current roster and anybody that might come in correctly and appropriately. But she's back in TNA for now. Again, she's one of those talents that she's heartbreaking to think about, because hearing so many others be affected by her behavior totally derails her ability and my ability and many others' ability to fully enjoy her as a performer. And I think that's a shame because she has all the tools to be successful. And her behavior ruins it. Her attitude ruins it. But that's not on that, I guess. So match 5, we have Mike Santana versus Joe Hendry versus Steve Maclin versus Josh Alexander to fight over becoming number 1 contender for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. This match went almost 20 minutes. It was like approximately 18 minutes. I have to say, seeing Santana and Joe Hendry both get chance during this match made me really happy. I like both Mike Santana and Joe Hendry quite a bit. They are 2 wrestlers that TNA has invested in and done an incredible job, with supporting them booking-wise, giving them opportunities, and they've taken the ball that TNA has offered them and ran with it, and they've done a great job cementing themselves as legit world title contenders, but also people that TNA can rely on and create conversation and have the fans invested in them. So hearing both of them get chance made me very, very happy, especially as fans of both. They both feel like suitable contenders for Nic Nemeth. They feel like they could also be world champion at some point. When I was talking about the X division earlier and Moose not having any legit challengers, Nic Nemeth having challengers like Mike Santana and Joe Hendry is what I wish Moose had in the X division. That's what they need to do with some of the X division competitors. I can only hope Mustafa Ali comes back. That could be one person for him. They need to build up Leon Slater, and there's many others on the roster that they could also tap into. Steve Maclin does need a little bit of love, in my opinion. However, I'm not mad at his placement right now. I think, though, he's one of those guys that with a little bit of love booking-wise and a little bit of investment, he could easily be right in that contender conversation, hence why he's in this match. He's just somebody that at any point, if they were like, hey, we want him to challenge for the championship, I feel like they could easily make that happen. I love his aggression. I love his intensity in the ring. Then Josh Alexander cannot zip tie. There was a segment where Josh Alexander tried to zip tie Mike Santana to one of the barricades outside the ring. It finally does end up happening, but it took him a really long time. There was even a "you can't zip tie" chant. So that was really funny. All in all, this match was a lot of fun and is a contender for match of the night for me. I really enjoyed it. They got an incredible amount of time. I feel like it was the right amount of time and they made the most of it. I feel like each challenger got their moment and multiple moments, multiple moves that were memorable post-match. It didn't feel like, like one or two talents outweighed one or two others. I feel like it felt like an even spread of people being able to show, or the wrestlers being able to show what they can do. Joe Hendry ends up winning. He did pin Josh Alexander after hitting his finisher, standing ovation. Really good match. The right person took the pin in this situation. Josh Alexander is leaving TNA, I believe, in February. So I'm really happy that Josh took the pin because I was kind of nervous they were going to make Steve Maclin take the pin. And TNA, I just feel like, has that tendency to be like somebody is leaving and like the Jordynne Grace and Rosemary match, perfect example. Like, I just wish Rosemary got that win over Jordynne in a competitive match, and then Tessa came out after the match. If they're going to use Tessa, like, let Rosemary get that rub. Let Rosemary get that momentum. I feel like sometimes they don't use people that are leaving the company to the maximum potential in a sense that benefits others. But they didn't do that here, so I enjoyed it. Match 6 is the Knockouts title match between Masha Slamovich and Tasha Steelz, which ran approximately 12 minutes and was a falls count anywhere match. Santino, right at the beginning of the match, banned Alicia Edwards from ringside before the match could start. Tasha looked really strong in this match. She had multiple standout moments. She had the spot where she suplexed Masha Slamovich onto the steel steps on the outside, which Masha's back hit those steps so hard. And I was like, how is she... This is the beginning of the match, early on in the match. How is she going to go run an entire match? And then they have tapings the next day, which I don't even know if she was a part of, but if she was, I have no idea how she took that and was just like, okay. But really gnarly spot. I enjoyed it. Tasha also hit a DDT to the outside. at one point, and then she also used the archway in the entrance ramp to hit Masha with a bulldog. Really, really good use of the archway. I liked that. With that being said, and it being a Falls Count Anywhere match, I kind of wish they used more environments than they did. I feel like they relied on the ring, the very outside of the ring, and the ramp, and that was it. I kind of wish they went into the crowd or went backstage and got a little creative there. But it was a fun match overall. I do think it was a good match. Masha ends up winning with a package pile driver on the ramp, and she retains. Tasha, again, looked strong in defeat here, but Masha also looked good in this match. I'm so happy that Masha finally has the Knockouts Championship, and she's had a really good run so far, and I hope this trend continues, and they continue to strengthen her reign as she goes. Interested to see what happens next in terms of challengers for Masha. Match 7 is the other match, which I think it is a little bit ahead of the world title contender match for me as match of the night. This probably is match of the night. I keep debating with myself. But the world tag title match, the Hardys versus the System, ran for approximately 17 minutes in a tables match. The Hardys have had a phenomenal. It's because AJ Styles was backstage. I'm going to let that be my shtick, but I promise, like all the other videos, I'm not going to say phenomenal as much. I can't totally eliminate it. Anyway, the Hardys have had a very enjoyable run since returning to TNA. I have been pleasantly surprised. I'm a huge Hardys fan. I have been since I was a little kid, especially Jeff Hardy specifically. Like, I was just drawn to him as a little kid when I first started watching wrestling. Him and Rey Mysterio were like the two first professional wrestlers that I was just drawn to. Seeing Jeff Hardy in the condition that he's in with his sobriety is incredibly heartwarming to me. He just looks so healthy, and I'm so happy for him. Like, I could go on and on about that and just be like, good, like gushy. Is that the word? Is that a word? I don't know. But like about it. But I'm so happy for him, and I'm so happy that they've had the pops that they've had since they've returned. I feel like every time that they make an entrance, people are freaking out over them. They get great reactions, and they look like they're having fun. They look like they're having a good time, and they're enjoying themselves. And the fans have been able to benefit, invest, and have fun. They look like they've been able to have fun, and they're benefiting. They're on a world tag title run right now. They had a great match here. Again, arguably match of the night, probably match of the night. The System looks strong in this match. And I know I said earlier the System as a stable is stale for me. But Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers as a tag team, it works for me. I feel like they work well together. There was even fuck the System chants at one point. Holy shit chants this match got at one point. Matt Hardy did a twist of fate to the outside, which looked great. Eddie Edwards bitch slapped a fan. That was a whole segment. If you didn't see that, I mean, you got to go look on Twitter. I'm sure you could look it up or find clips of it here on YouTube. But yeah, Eddie Edwards got like a little tap from a fan on his face, and he returned the favor. Fan gets ejected from the arena. Very interesting part of the match. Very funny. People were definitely talking about it online. The Hardys did win the match when Jeff hit a swanton bomb on Eddie Edwards through the table outside. Jeff like jumped from the archway in the arena while he was like in the crowd, very akin to his like first time that he ever did it. I can't remember what year that was, but very reminiscent of that famous Jeff Hardy spot. Great match overall. Again, the System looks strong in defeat, but the Hardys are on just a beautiful run right now, and I'm so happy to see them doing well. Match 8, the main event, we have Nic Nemeth, TNA World Champion, defending his championship against AJ Francis. This match ran for approximately 15 minutes. I hate to admit it. As I said earlier, I am not an AJ Francis fan. That's not the part that I hate to admit. The part that I hate to admit is that AJ Francis did well in this match. And I am the furthest thing from an AJ Francis fan, but he did do well in this match. I have to give him his flowers, unfortunately, as much as it pains me. And I'm kind of joking because I like teasing AJ Francis. I like poking fun at him because he's a heel and he's just like fun to make fun of to me in a lighthearted way. Nothing personal, nothing, Anyway, He did launch Nic Nemeth from the ramp, like back into the ring at one point. That was a really good spot. Oh, I hate I'm giving him props right now. I don't like it. But anyway, he also hit his choke slam that he calls the down payment. I have to give AJ his Francis. I have to give AJ his flowers there too, because he did a really good job with both of those spots, but also his choke slam actually does look good. But shading AJ Francis a little bit here, and not just to shade him, even though I love doing it. My favorite part about AJ Francis since he's coming to TNA consistently has been Casey Navarro. I'm so happy that Casey Navarro has a frequent and reliable spot on TV right now. Unfortunately, it's thanks to AJ Francis. But Casey's a great talent, and I hope they insert him in the X Division scene soon. Both men sold really well in this match. Nic Nemeth has always been great at selling. And he just looks really strong as champion. But he did end up winning and pinning AJ Francis. It was a good match. I hate to say it. I love Nic Nemeth. I don't like AJ Francis, but it was a good match. But I do not want to see AJ Francis as world champion. I'm sorry, AJ. You did good, but not good enough to be like, all right, let's make him champion. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. All in all, I did enjoy Final Resolution. I think the parts that were good were good. I think the parts that were great were great. And I think the parts that made me scratch my head until my scalp bled made me scratch my head until my scalp bled. And that is the best way for me to sum up Final Resolution, in my opinion. If you watched the pay-per-view, what was your favorite match? Obviously, hot button topics. What is your opinion of Tessa Blanchard coming back into TNA? What was your favorite match of the night? How do you feel about Joe Hendry challenging Nic Nemeth at Genesis? And what do you think of the Hardys' current run since returning to TNA? Let me know in the comments down below. This is a new channel here. This is my very first video on this channel and wrestling video in years. I will be making more of these reviews. I'll be doing weekly TNA reviews as well, and some other just random TNA wrestling related videos. So if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to join the community, and let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video, or maybe you didn't. Lie to me. Tell me you loved it. No, just kidding. You can give constructive criticism. No hate. Come on now. All right, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you at the next one.